Hi y'all, this is Regina. I am getting ready to stitch this. It is a patch, or you could use it as a magnet. Um, there are two variations of this. Let me see here. That's A. This is A, and the other one is B. Just because of um, the satin stitch around the edge and the inside top stitch right along the inside edge right here. So let me show you. Let me get back over there. Sorry, I'm holding my phone. So you see that I've got a purple inside top stitch and then a black top stitch on top of the satin stitch. It just makes it easier for you so you don't have to remember what you want to change. This would just be a little help if you decide you want a orange on the outside and have this as purple. So I'm going to stitch this one just as it stands, and there are instructions included in the file. But you have to remember on the instructions, they're going to vary because these are examples. Let me scroll back up. I was making a change. So this is the instructions, and they will vary because of the shape and the number of color stops for just the design, not the actual patch itself, the patch background. So this one does not have an inside running stitch on it. This is just, let me go back over. This one is all by itself. Hang on just a second. All right, so the instructions, we're using this as an example. Let me bring this over here, and these are the color stops. So there is no inside top stitch along this edge right here on the inside. Let me get back over here. Whereas with, let me go down, this one you have an inside top stitch. It's this color stop right here. All right, and then this one does not have an inside top stitch. This is your backing stop. This is the satin stitch, and this is the top stitch on top of the satin stitch. And that one doesn't have one either. I think this may, the one that the instructions were written with so far, or this one right here so far is the only one that has the inside top stitch, and that would be color stop 13. So you have to realize that depending on the design, things may change as far as the color stops. All right, so let me get over to the machine and start stitching this. So I'm going to do a little experiment. Here is the design. I used a very light lavender on the background of this. I probably should have used a beige or a white background like Crystal did on hers, and that'll be a sample included in the file. But I'm going to use cotton fabric somewhere. Cotton fabric, hold on. All right, so I'm going to use cotton fabric. All right, so, and it's rolling. I'm going to set this on here for the time being. All right, so the first color stop is a placement stitch, and hopefully I've already sent this to my machine. Yes, there it is. All right, the first color stop is a placement stitch, and let's see here. I'm going to put in the color that I will use for color stop number 3, which is the light fill design. I'm going to use kind of a cream color. Sorry, I would have already had this done, but kind of doing everything on the fly right now. All right, so I'm going to stitch color stop number 1, and it will be the placement stitch. Now, because I'm using fabric, I'm also going to use another piece of tearaway stabilizer, which is what this is. Okay, so this should fit right inside, and it does. Alright, so I'm going to put that down, and then I'm going to put my fabric down, and it needs to overlap, and I just want to make sure I've got plenty, and I do. Okay, so this is going to stitch color stop number 2, which is the tack down. It's a blue color. You have to use blue. Okay, these are just applique steps. So, there's two schools of thought. I can either trim my fabric back now before it stitches the light fill, or wait until after it stitches. If I wait till after it stitches, I might cut one of those fill stitches accidentally. So I'm going to trim my fabric back now. Okay, so I've got my applique scissors. I'm holding my fabric up vertically so I can get as close to the line. Will this cut backwards? No. Okay. As close to the line as I can. And I'm just going to turn this around and hold my fabric up. Stitch, cut right up against that line. Sorry, I'm sniffing. I've got allergies going on today. This weather is crazy. Okay, so I've got the last one right here. Okay, so I've cut my fabric back. I'm going to put my hoop back in. And color stop number 3, except I'm going to trim this little piece off right here. Yep. I'm going to stitch color stop number 3, which is the light fill design. Now, it will have some holes in it because I've left those holes blank for some of the rest of the design to stitch in. So, once again, this is a test. Test number 1 on using fabric. Cotton fabric, like I would use to embroider on and make a quilt or a project. And number 2, a test for the part of the design that's stitching within those little holes that are cut out of this fill stitch, and to see how it works. This one I did not have the little holes cut out, and it stitched well, but someone asked me what it would look like and how it would stitch if we cut the little holes out for some of these pieces. So that's what I did. So I'm not going to have you sit here and watch all this stitching. This is going to fill in, and when it does, I'll be back. Alright, so hopefully you could, oh good, that was good timing. Hopefully you can see that's stitched, and it's going to go in and do all the little dots that are in the boo and the A in the so there'll be some stitching back there. It won't be white. So this isn't a heavy fill. It's just a light stitch just to give some background color and to give a little bit more stability to the patch or magnet, whatever you want to use it for. Alright, Alright, so the next color stop is black for the eyes, and I'm going to put in a bobbin, a black bobbin that I wound. It's not a pre-wound, so I don't need my little disc for pre-wound bobbin. I don't need it. And change my thread color to black. Alright, so this is just going to stitch the eyes. So I have the outline of the ghost shape and the dots for the cowboy in a different color. If you just want to stitch it all in black, then you can just press go when the machine stops. I put them in a dark gray in case you wanted to change the color of the eyes or the color of the outlining, whatever. Alright, so color stop number 5 is going to stitch all the spots of the cow, if you will. And I'm just using black. It calls for like a dark gray or something like that. Smoky gray. I just wanted to separate those colors so you could change thread color if you wanted. And I'll be back when all these spots are stitched. Alright, so all the little bits and pieces have stitched, and now it's calling for another dark color, black, gray, dark gray, whatever you want to use, to do the outlining of the ghost shape. And I'm just going to leave my black in and tell it to go. This is color stop number 6. You can make it whatever color you want. Color stop number 7 is going to stitch the purple dots. You can make them whatever color you want. I'm going to take my black bobbin out so I don't have a weird looking dot. And I'm going to put in my regular bobbin thread. And change my thread color. Okay, so there's 6 dots in purple. And I'll be back when they're done. Alright, so the next color stop is to do his hat. And I put in orange for his hat. And I just realized I should have moved the text. Well, no, I'm just going to leave it. was going to say, I should have moved the text up because it's purple, but I'm going to leave it as down here as a purple, or I'll change it to another color. That way you can make it whatever color you want. I'm not going to do it as orange because I'm going to use orange around the edges on the satin stitching. Okay, this is just doing just the cowboy hat. And then the next color stock is also an orange. It's a different color orange, but I'm actually going to stitch it in gold after this stitches the band. I guess I could change that band to another color, and you could have a different color band. I'm going to do that. I'm going to change that band to a different color. All right, so this one is the kind of stars or something like that, and I'm going to stitch them in gold. I'm not going to stitch them in orange, which is what they are in on the design. It's actually as gold. Oh, jeez. Oh my gosh. I hate all these spam calls. Alright, so I'm going to stitch this in gold. This is all the stars. Okay, so the next thing that stitches is the text, and I'm going to use my purple to stitch that. So let me get this threaded real quick. And once again, this is just stitching the ooh-ha. Ooh-ha. And I'll be back. All right, so the text has finished stitching, and now it wants me to, it is color stop 11, and it's a blue outline, so it wants me to put on the backing. All right, so I'm gonna just use this. I have plenty of that, plenty of scraps of that, so it's fall colors, and I'm going to put, after I make sure I've got it centered, okay, so I'm just going to put a little piece of tape here and a little piece of tape here to hold it in place until this tacks down. And oops. All right, and you can see behind it I've got plenty of fabric all the way around. All right, so I'm going to use my orange thread. All right, so this is tacking down my backing fabric. Now before I do my satin stitch, I want to trim that backing fabric, so I need to get my tape off of here. And I need to trim my fabric off the back. So once again, if you hold that material up, you get really close to the line. Make it stand up straight. Use your applique scissors, and you can get right up against that line, which is what you want, because you don't want any of your fabric sticking out of the satin stitch. Okay, you were doing good cutting. Now why all of a sudden are you not wanting to cut? Silly scissors. Here we go. All right, so I've got my backing fabric trimmed, and now I'm ready to do color stop number 12, which is the satin stitching. Okay, and I'm going to use my orange to do that with. And I trim that thread. So this is going to do the satin stitching around the edge. And my thread just broke. Hold on. All right, we're back on track now. right, something's wrong. Hang on. All right, we're cooking now. I'll be back when this satin stitch is done. All right, my satin stitch is finished. Color stop number 13 is going to stitch right inside this line. So back to purple or black, whatever you want to do it. I'm going to do it in purple. It's a top stitch. You do not have to stitch this color stop if you don't want to. So I'm going, before I do anything, I'm going to check and make sure that it's going where, yes it is. Okay, so it's going right where it should, but I want to trim that thread. Alright, so this is a top stitch right on the inside of the satin stitching. Just a little pop of color. You can put whatever color you want, and you can, if you have more than one thread spool holder, you can put in your black thread, because the last color stop is going to stitch another top stitch right on top of the satin stitching, the orange satin stitching. That looks good. All right. All right, I'm going to change to my black thread real quick. Oops. Okay. And where's the end? There it is. And we're almost done. Alright, this is going to top stitch right on top of the orange. You do not have to stitch this color stop if you don't want to. Just, it will show all the orange thread. This is just a top stitch on top of the orange. And we're done. So all we have to do now is pop this out. Let me trim this thread because I did sew my stabilizer together. So I'm going to trim that little thread. And I probably have one on this side too. Yep. Because I sewed my stabilizer together. I just hate to waste stabilizer. It's so expensive. There we go. Alright, so now you can take your lighter and get rid of all the little threads. And there is the patch for the boo-ha. Boo-ha. I'm going to trim these little tails on the back. And I have a nice back, so if I want to make a magnet out of it, I can put a magnet that covers this area and use it on the refrigerator or the stovetop or whatever. All right. So there it is. I hope you enjoy this. Oh, let's see. Here it is in a different color. Okay. This one I did not do the hole setting. I do have, I just pulled up some little threads here. I'm going to go see if I can fix that. But there it is. Thanks for watching. Enjoy.